Just
be
care a
polite,
bit.
be nice,
Yeah.
don't be difficult.
Don't wear 3-piece suit, slick back hair.
Keep it casual, people, keep it casual.
It's not looking good for clients.
This is too fast, I've only just started.
Yeah, I remember you, and you was really difficult.
That really grated on me.
Welcome to our first podcast. I'm Elle from EO. This is Emma.
You are the EO.
I am EO, yeah.
The L husband.
We're going to do a little podcast today on starting a business, or about
How you started.
how I started.
Basically, it's 3 years, EO is 3 years old today,
We are 3 years old today. It's a bit surreal.
which is a big milestone, as we found out a statistic about small businesses failing after 3 years, and we've made it.
We've made it.
We've made it
We've
past
made
the
it.
3 year mark.
There's been a few rough roads to get here.
Well, year one for a start.
Yeah, year one was, yeah, it was COVID, actually. It was COVID,
Yeah, I
2020.
think year
Everyone hated
one,
that year.
you went, I want to be a business owner, and then it went, no, pandemic, lockdown.
Yeah, I think I left my full-time job to start on my own. I thought I always would start on my own. Why not? And I was now thinking it feels really young when I started, but I feel like I was extremely young really to start my own business. And yeah, within 6 weeks, everything shut down. The whole world went into panic, and I was part of the 3 million people that couldn't get any financial help at all because I just started a business. So it was rice and beans for 6 months for me.
Yeah. Weight loss, though, weight loss.
Yeah, exactly. Think of the gains.
But how has it been the 3 years after the start? How's it been so far?
Do you know, I love my job, genuinely. I'm not just saying because I'm on a podcast. I do really enjoy it. I think it's every day is different. There's days that it's very tiring and very, we deal with. Sorry, I can't get my words out here. You deal with lots of issues left, right, and centre. But I think as you grow as a business owner, you learn how to deal with those issues rather than being concerned about them. How did you find it when you first started with us?
It was 2 years for me. I joined a year in. Had a bit of a rocky start. We won't go into that. When I first started,
Won't name any names.
won't name any names. Bit of a rocky start, but it has been a challenge. It's definitely harder. You did say to me when we first started, you're like, the first 6 months are going to be like really tough, and you're going to regret it every day. But which I did.
Positive.
Yeah, my partner can vouch for that. But no, I love it now, and now I'm kind of reaping the rewards of my effort. You can, yeah.
I think that's the difference when you run a business, and especially in property. I think what people don't understand is, I think the reason why estates have such a bad name is because you're on a high street agency, you're getting such a small cut when you're doing all the work. And I think when you're a business owner, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
You're a jack of all trades essentially, but you have to master all of them. You can't be a jack of all trades, master
That's
of none.
That's the bit that was the biggest challenge for me, is that in my previous position I was so used to just doing the viewings, the sales, and then the progression. We didn't have a progressor. So viewing, sales, progression, and then like the handover at the end. I didn't have to really do any of the admin. I had to do the odd form here or there, but we had an administrator, and I didn't really have to get involved in the marketing side of it because we had someone doing that as well.
Yep.
So the bit that I was struggling with when I started was just the time blocking everything, and just being like, right, I need to dedicate 2 hours when I first started, 2 hours to like leafleting and really kind of going and marketing myself in the local area, 2 hours to social media, and like creating posts and content and stuff is like time consuming in itself. And then the viewings, booking in viewings, which aren't always in the time slot that you want, and you have to fit them in around other things, then progression, and then like contacting your vendors with feedback and things like that. So that bit was what I struggled with the most. And then obviously managing limited funds at the time as well. So you want to promote yourself in the best way possible, but you also have to be very creative in how you do that with not very much money.
Yeah.
So I was doing things that I created a community calendar for my local area, which took me ages, and it was actually a lot more challenging than I thought, but I did that just to help kind of spread the word about my company a bit more. Obviously going out leafleting, I had to make leaflets, and I did all the design work and stuff myself, so I was learning new skills as we go. So yeah, that was the bit that was...
Yeah, I think that was my struggle. I think during COVID, obviously, the best thing actually was, I don't think the business would have been where it is now if it wasn't for COVID, because I spent so much time doing marketing or doing nothing else really. I wasn't furloughed, so it was sat kind of panicking every day basically to make sure the marketing was right, plugging as much money in as possible. When we came out of it, it was absolutely crazy busy.
Yeah.
I used to do days of kind of 6 a.m. all the way through till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And that's not even an exaggeration. We still have times like that
Yeah.
now. So
I was
think
busy in COVID.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important to... I always think when I'm super busy and I think, oh God, I can't cope, I always think of the days that I really was praying to be busy.
Yeah.
I was really concerned when it was quiet. So I think it's now we've gone from it was just me, then me and Catherine, and then we kind of expanded from there, and it went to was 9 of us now.
Yeah, I mean, talk about
insane.
the progression of how you expanded the company, because from being just you, obviously, I think when we've spoken about it, you just got to the point where you were a bit overwhelmed with the more admin side of it.
Yeah, I
and
think
then obviously Catherine.
when it was just me, we've employed there's basically two sides to agency, I think, of how agents who run their own business want to work. So some agents want to be their own one-man band, which is nothing wrong with if that's the right thing for you, kind of limited volume. But it got to the point where I was doing kind of multiple listings a week. I couldn't cope anymore, to be honest. It was so, as I said, it was 6 a.m, 10 o'clock at nights, and you can't consistently keep that up.
Yeah, there's no social life.
No social life.
And we know you love a social life.
Yeah, there's no social life. I'm an admitted workaholic, but that even was too much for me. So it was about bringing someone on a couple of days a week to manage that process. And then it's basically about bringing the right people in. My mantra with this is you should bring people in that have better skills than you in different areas.
Yeah.
So my skills are selling, speaking to people, and maybe running the business in total.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not very good at admin, admittedly. I'm not very good at writing, reading.
Honestly, the amount of emails that I have to vet before Elle sends them and just spell check and just make sure they make sense, and so many sentences that are just repeated and like words that just aren't the right word.
It's not looking good for clients, but we'll go for that. But yeah, I think that was the expansion originally. I always wanted to expand to a bigger team. I found it really hard first working on my own because it's a very lonely job when you work on your own. It's lonely as a business owner in general.
It can be lonely just generally being self-employed, working from home, because we don't all see each other every day. It's not like we group together and go and spend hours together working from the office or coffee shops or whatever. A lot of the time we're very isolated and we're at home and we speak on the phone a bit, but there are days where I think recently we haven't spoken for a couple of days, maybe for sort of 15 minutes over the course of a few days, and you're a bit like, where are all my friends?
Where is everyone? Yeah, I think it's that's why we've got the office of things. But I think kind of scaling up, I think, is about managing your finances, so like making sure you have a full control of exactly what's going in and going out. And I think that's what a lot of agents get. You can get really wrapped up in the job and forget about things like the dreaded VAT return, which
had that.
It's always painful, even though it's not your money. It's always painful to pay it. But also looking at kind of spending costs and also for what's right for the client.
Yeah.
For me, that's massively important. Like, we've got 71 5-star reviews on Google, 30 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. We've got one negative one, but it's that's normal.
Yeah.
And I think that it's all about, as long as you put the client first and the service first, it's good. But also, I think with agency in general in the UK, as horrible as it sounds, it's not difficult to be a good agent, because I think there's so many agents that don't care.
Yeah.
There's so many agents that do care, but there's so many that don't necessarily care. It's kind of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Go in, go out, sell a couple of houses, sit on a basic
That's the
salary.
thing. I had feedback the other day from a vendor who I listed his property in end of last year. Not a good market. Flat market was dead in the water. And the conversation that most agents were having with their clients was either reduce or come offline. Yeah. He wasn't open to reducing, and I think he just wanted to see what it was like to go with a high street agent. Obviously, we're very different in terms of our service. We're very bespoke, and I think a lot of clients worry that because we're a smaller name, and there's not as many of us, that we're going to be somehow giving them a lesser service. Yeah. It literally couldn't be more opposite. And now, in fact, he's had a stint all over the Christmas period and up until now, a stint with a high street agent. He's had no feedback, no offers, minimal viewings. It's just not been working, and he literally wrote a message to say, I'm like, can you have it again? Can you take me back on? The feedback and stuff has been night and day between what I was providing and what the other agent was providing him, and just in terms of the kind of care and the effort that I was putting into him as a client, because I am so invested. Like, I think that what people don't understand is that with the way our business runs, each individual business owner, so myself and Elle and Catherine and Jack and what have you, we all put money our own money into each property that we list. So although EO as a whole covers the cost of Rightmove and insurance and things like that, we have to pay individually for our marketing, so photographers, videos, all of that sort of stuff, to get it up. And so if we don't sell that property, then we're making a loss. We work on a no sale, no fee basis, so we make no money, and we lose money effectively if we don't sell it. And that's what we have to try and get across to clients, is it's not a big pot that we all take out of. It's our own. Yeah,
I think it's an understanding of, you know, for me, it's always a case of caring so much. You know, things that are small things, even things like, you know, someone maybe speaking to you in the way that shouldn't do or what have you. You go and take that home. You're a human.
Oh, yeah.
We care, and we actually do care. And I think that's, people kind of say it as, you know, job's easy, show houses. It's not an easy job to get right, but it's communication, and also, as you say, Emma, it's like, it's our own money. That's what we invest into it. The amount of money I've invested into running a business is huge. You know, it's like life saving, is huge. So I think it's about people, making people understand how we're slightly different, but also when you run a business, it's the most rewarding thing ever. I absolutely love it, but it's also it's a very hard job. And actually, I find a lot of people now, especially a lot of people I know, say really want to do what you do, but people see what you've done and the kind of rewards from it, but they don't see all the background.
It's really hard, because we do get approached quite a lot with people saying like, oh, are you hiring, or how do you do what you do, or will you come and work for me? I've just set up on my own and what have you. And the answer kind of is, you need to have it established, and you have to have your company nailed, the kind of ethos and the mantra that you want to have as a business owner, which Elle, you did really well. You have to have that established before you start bringing people onto your team. You want to know what sort of business you're going to be, and the way you want to operate, the way you want to be with clients, before you start taking on a team. Because I think that, as you said, you take people on with certain strengths, but you also take the people on with similar mindsets and similar work ethics and what have you. So we all work at EO in a very similar way. We're very different people, but the effort and the way that we the way our company values, core values are the same. Our whole thing is a service-based product. That's our whole, and making sure that the experience for the buyer and seller is a good one. If we don't do that, and nothing hurts us more than a bad review. We've only got one, and it's not even that bad, as you say. We've only got one, but honestly, it's like a dagger to the heart when you get that, because everything else is so positive, and we have nothing but kind of praise and good feedback. So as soon as we hear anything that's remotely negative towards the way that we operate, we're instantly just like, what do we need to do to address that? What can we change?
I think it's about caring. And also, I think it's about understanding. There's a lot of agents, I think, the way that we work is more the American style. So one-to-one agent. So if you have an agent within my business or myself dealing with your property, you deal with me the whole way through viewing. Obviously, we've got a sales progression team and an operations team now as well. But I think it's about the way that we work is becoming much more seen. You know, you've got your larger franchises that work the way we do, but their main goal is to take on as many agents as possible to make as much money as possible as a corporate business. So I think that's exactly what we don't want. That's exactly what I don't want to
take
do.
On as much stock, isn't it? They just want to have massive pipelines and just be able to just drip feed sales constantly, whereas we're much more of a one in, one out. We'll take it on, we'll sell it, then we'll get something else on. Like, it doesn't always work like that, but the idea is that you take a property on, you give it your 100% focus, sell it for the best price, give the client the best possible service, and then you're ready to take on the next one. Yeah,
and I think the majority of my sales in the last kind of year has been referrals. And the same with yours, old buyers, old clients that come back and go, do you know what, I remember you from 5 years ago. I have it the same thing now. I went to a coffee shop recently and I met someone, a development called Lombard Wharf, where I used to sell that years ago. And he came up to me and said, "Oh, like, how are you?" I said, "I can't believe you're hitting." I said, "Oh, my office is there." And he's like, "I can't believe you got your own office." And we sit next to our High Street office now, in the office next door that was where I started as an ex. I think it's about giving that such a good level of service that people remember you, because you're your own brand.
That is the best feeling. The best feeling when you're taking you've got repeat clients from way back when I've got clients that have come back to me from when I worked at two companies ago. My first one, when I was just kind of Saturday girl, and then went into like negotiating, whatever, and it was years ago. But even back then, I've had people that have approached me since then that are looking to move to London, or have moved to London and want to sell, and what have you. That was out in the sticks, but it's it's the best feeling when someone comes back, just purely because they remember what you were like and they liked your way of working. It's a real kind of credit.
Definitely. How do you think you would ever go back to like your standardised high street brand?
No.
That's quick.
I have thought about it. I've answered that very quickly. I have thought about it just to be like, could I ever work for anyone again? And it's the way that we work here is obviously Elle set up EO. EO is your baby and it's great. And we kind of work under the umbrella of EO, but we are self-employed. We are business owners in our own right. We all have our own companies and that's how it works. So I like being under the umbrella. So not everything is on me. Like I don't have to get involved in the running the business side of it as you do, which by the sounds of it, the many conversations that we've had is the stressful part. So that's all you. I don't want to have that on my shoulders, but I like being able to work where I want, when I want, take time off if I need it. Like we're massive believers in, if you need a break, take a break. And we encourage each other constantly. We're just like, do you want to go to the gym? You need a break, take it easy, whatever. Like you can't do that at High Street. When we were back in High Street, it was, you were sat in the office, even if you weren't busy, just kind of twiddling your thumbs, staring at a screen. And if you'd hit your call target for the day or you'd spoken to all your clients and you had nothing to do, you just had to wait and run the clock down. Now, that time where I had spent just sat staring at a screen, not doing anything, I'm now either creating content for social media, or I'm at the gym or whatever. Like you can put that time to so much better use. I would encourage being self-employed every day of the week.
That's one thing. I think running the business and the way I try to manage the team, I don't always get everything right. I don't think any business owner ever gets everything right completely. But one thing I took from working for so many different companies is that your team, if you're burnt out, you can't do anything. And I'm the same now. I feel it myself, where I had 18 months of not having a weekend off. I haven't had, admittedly, I haven't actually had a full week off for 3 years, which I'm trying to hopefully change in July and go on holiday. But I think it's super important to tell your team to have a break and time control. And I always bang on to you, Em, and the rest of the team to say, take a break. You know, take time out, take a weekend off, because
she doesn't listen to her own advice though.
I'm trying. I think it's difficult and that's the thing of agents that are watching this, especially, that are thinking, I'm going to go self-employed, or maybe smaller business owners that are thinking, I want to branch out, and want me to say to them, what would you do? That's the main thing to keep in mind. If you're going to do that and it's not just yourself, taking that break becomes harder because you're running a business. But the one thing is, if you have a great team like I do, we're obviously going to Berlin at the end of the month, which I'm really looking forward to. I think we can step away because we have such a good team internally, and agents that can actually come in and sell. And to be honest, when I was on High Street, I remember I used to every Saturday come into work, so I didn't trust any person to sell like I did. And I genuinely feel in the team now, if I'm off, and obviously we are partners in new homes, it's a lot easier for me to say, Em, can you do the viewing? And I feel that you'll sell it 'cause you're a closer.
I'm up to standard.
Up to standard. Up to standard. Letting go is my issue, I think.
It is. Control freak. Man. What would you say has been like the toughest, if you could change anything about the way you've run the business so far? Like, what was the toughest bit? Is there any changes you would have made? Is there anything you do differently?
Toughest bit, I think, for me, to be honest, one of the main things I say to friends and family, which is something that everyone would find odd, is that I would probably have been slightly older when starting a business. More in a
really? But you love telling everyone that you were such a young business owner.
Yeah, I love it. I
the story,
especially as a female business owner, I think it's a great thing to have. Girl power, especially. But I think it's more a case of, having that freedom. I think I would have started it with maybe more backing. And actually more understanding of what it required to do it.
The business aspect.
Yeah. I think that's, I am, even when I'm chilling, I'll now read business books and things like that and really try and push myself to become the best person I can be. But I think it's really important to, look at every detail of, right, how am I going to do this? And there was, especially in the first year, admittedly, there was times where I just wanted to throw the towel in. It's really trying. I think it's just, I would wanted to have understood how much it costs, because I was kind of really sold the dream on, this is how it's going to be. You're going to make all this money, but it doesn't work like that. It's actually the opposite. You spend so much money trying to invest in it, but it's genuinely the best thing you've ever done, as much as that sounds like a negative answer to that.
No, not at all. I mean, you've got to be honest in this situation, because it's, like you say, it's not always roses and sunshine. There are tough days, and it's, for anyone that's thinking about doing it, they've got to know kind of what they're up against. So And that was something that you were really honest with all of us when we've all started about, because obviously you lived through it in COVID, which was especially hard. But when we all came on, I remember when we had our first interview and you were like, yeah, you're not going to make any money in 6 months and it's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's
it.
I think there's two types of people as well. I think it's understanding. For me, I was really hard to manage.
Yeah.
I remember being and then thinking, I want to be you. I want to be I always want more. I'm always that person, very motivated.
Yeah.
So I always found it really hard for my manager to
Yeah.
manage me. I'm sure he's probably watching this and probably thinking, yeah, I remember you, and you was really difficult.
Yeah.
But it's I enjoyed working for different people, but I just knew that wasn't what I wanted in the long term. So that's and I just can't wait. I'm impatient.
Yeah.
That's just I think you have to be impatient as a estate agent. You're fast paced, and that's the way it works.
Yeah.
But I think there's two types of people. You either want to be employed, which is great. You can get big salaries if you're working for different people and you can enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's also the problem with our style of agency. I think a lot of self-employed agents, especially on LinkedIn, say, oh, you shouldn't ever be employed, or employed isn't the way forward. That's never going to be the case. Yeah. There's always going to be people that want to be employed.
Yeah, of course. The security, it's different for everyone. And you do have to have a certain mindset. You have to have a certain work ethic to make this work.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared to put in the hours. And I think that was one of the things that when I was at High Street, I was being managed by someone who was lazy, essentially. I won't name names, but then didn't have the work ethic, didn't want to put in the time, delegated everything. And I was doing the work, not being rewarded for it. Yeah. And I was just like, if I'm willing to put in the hours and do all this graft, then I want to see a bigger piece of the pie in terms of money. And the only way to do that really is by not having that kind of hierarchy and go and doing it for yourself, because I was already doing the same hours. I probably work more now, and I work probably 6-7 days a week, but I'm getting a much kind of bigger piece of the pie. There's more flexibility in the week in terms of what I do with my spare time and what have you. So
yeah, I think it's the same for even self-employed age where I work. I know that there's business owners that delegate completely, that are self-employed model like us, that don't do anything, and there are people leaving them. And I have a lot of agents approach us and say, how are you different to that kind of model? And it's like, I probably work the same amount, if not more, than everyone in the team. I still do viewings, I still do valuations, because I think it's important as a manager. I always found it's important you should work how you want your team to work. I'm not a sit back person anyway, to be honest, but I think if you want people to work in a certain way, you can't then delegate. Exactly what you just said. You can have time off, and I think that's also important. I think you have to show how you want your team to work and show that you're willing to put the graft in as well.
The first company I worked for, I remember we were on a pooled commission. I don't know if you've ever done a pooled commission, and it worked well. It worked well because I was a team of girls, and no offense to any guys listening, but in my experience, girls work hard. We really put in the graft, so that I didn't mind. We all worked kind of equally as each other in terms of sales and viewings and what have you, and we covered each other. But there was a couple of guys, that one of which was the manager of the office at the time, who would just let everyone do the kind of dirty work and then take obviously a big cut of the commission that we'd all worked hard for. That really grated on me.
I remember I went for an interview once with a brilliant company actually up in town when I was working around here, and they said to me, the first thing they said to me, it's pool commission, this pool, and I just went no.
Yeah, no, bye.
Because
Bye.
I just feel like unless you've got an extremely amazing team that you can work with, and let's be honest, that is a lottery.
Yeah,
it's a lottery.
There's always one. There's always someone that you just don't gel with, carrying. Carrying.
Yeah, carrier. So I think it's definitely, I don't know, running a business is definitely the best thing I've ever done. I'd never change it for the world, and I think it's it's just a mindset thing, isn't it? I think it's just not right for everyone. But I think if you do enjoy it, I think it's the main thing is enjoy what you do.
Where do you see it going? What's the next step for EO? What's your plans?
So we've just expanded now. So we've now got Maz and Fozan. Some of you guys might have seen them on Instagram. So we've expanded to West London, East London.
North London.
And North London. So we're obviously a team of 9. The ideal, one of my main points is we've expanded massively in 3 years.
Yep.
So it's more about now getting it right and just relaxing, getting it right. And by relaxing, I mean not expanding.
Yeah.
The ideal for me as a business owner eventually would be that we will expand and we'll be bigger, we'll cover the whole of London and to be the best serviced agent. Mm-hmm. I don't want my business to be a big market share across the UK. I think it would be damaging to the brand. We're a London brand.
Our success comes from the reviews that we're getting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that would be the main side of it. I'd like to see us branch out into maybe development side of things. Obviously, we do new homes, but we've obviously discussed kind of building development side and doing all of that. So maybe 2 years, 3 years time, I'd like to see kind of us expanded as a business, but maybe not as dramatically as I originally thought. You know, I was thinking when I was first started, I was thinking, I want it to be like 30, 40.
Yeah,
50,
I remember the
that.
first year after year one of me starting, you were suddenly like, yeah, so I've been to interview so-and-so, 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 and I want them all to come on at the end of the year. And I remember just looking at Catherine being like, this is too fast. I've only just started.
Yeah, I think it's about.
But to be fair, you brought on 2 at a time and it has worked and it's been fine, but it's just managing.
Yeah, it's also managing from my side. I want to make sure that I'm not spread too thin. Yeah. And I think that's also really important, because once you get to that point, you start losing people leave. The main reason people leave is because their boss. Yeah. That's genuinely the main, they've done a survey recently. But yeah, it's the main reason people leave. So I think it's just about that side is really important. But I think new homes is a really big thing for EO. I think we've got a really good thing going. It's just expanding that side of the business, making sure Resi's kind of ready. And I think probably maybe the next year we'll have 2 or 3 people start for residential sales once our new homes drives off. I think that's kind of
covering our areas.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully you'll see EO in more kind of towns near you.
towns boroughs
near you.
Boroughs near you.
Yeah, but I think that would be the main thing, I suppose.
Nice. And then for anyone that is looking to start their own business, any advice? What would be your top number one piece of advice if you were looking to go self-employed or start a business or just be an agent in general? What would your...
Be ready to graft.
Be ready to graft.
If you want to be the best agent out there and you want to actually make good money, then don't think it's an easy job.
Yeah.
Because it's not. A lot of people think it is. Yeah. We were saying earlier, you know, if you go to a party, you meet someone's family or whatever, and you say, what do? And you go sit and you go, there's loads of estate agents, and in the UK, you don't even need qualifications, which I don't think is right either, to be honest. But just be prepared to graft, especially if you're going to go into business owner, self-employed role. Yeah. Be prepared to spend a lot of money as well. Yeah. It costs a lot of money to do it.
I think just understanding the role as well. I think so many companies employ kind of younger, and I was one of them. I started in agency when I was 16, 17. And I had no idea really the magnitude of what the role actually entails. Like, you're dealing with people's largest asset in most cases, like the most amount of money they'll ever have, and you're handling that transaction for them, and you're advising them on where best to place their money. Like, that's a massive thing that so many of these younger kind of people that go into agency just don't realise. Or like for rentals, for example, that's your client, your landlord, that's their investment. They've worked hard to get that and to have that asset, and you're now managing it and just to get a quick kind of commission, you're just putting any old Tom, Dick or Harry into that property, whether or not they look after it or not. Like, that's, I think, just understanding fully what the job entails, how big a deal it actually is to do a good job and to advise your client, do your research. Like,
be honest.
Yeah,
it's about
don't
honesty.
wing it. It's not a wing it job.
It's also one of those things where if you think about, like, I'll think about that tomorrow, or if you don't chase something, or if you think, oh, you know, I'll deal with that, or if you just be honest. Yeah. The amount of people you meet who go, estate agent lied, or someone lied. Yeah. Just don't. You know, it's going to come back on you. Yeah. So you might as well just be honest from the get-go, or, you know, just don't take it on, or just be honest with people and just work hard, because in agency, we have such a bad name as estate agents. That's also one of the main reasons I wanted to start a business, because I was so sick of working for people that employed people that just didn't care. Yeah. And you was just put in that pool of people where they just go, oh, you're another estate agent that doesn't care. And we work so hard to make clients understand that we're not like everyone else. The amount of people that we call and they go, oh, God. You go, who are you calling from? Hi, it's Elle from EO Estate. You go, oh. Yeah. Oh, even I would do that if I was a
That's just me when you ring me.
Like, bore again. But yeah, I think that's like grafting, being honest, and just making sure that you, understand the job role and what it requires. And actually, it's as much as saying it's hard to be an agent. Yeah, it is hard. But to being a good estate agent, even on high street, it's just communication. Yeah. Update people. Yeah. Actually answer the phone. Yeah. Just
be
care
polite.
a bit.
Be nice. Yeah. Don't be difficult. Yeah. Be honest.
So that's the main thing. Don't wear a 3-piece suit, slick back hair, and have a pinky ring.
I always joke you can spot an agent, estate agent, a mile off, can't you? You really can. There's such a look. I'm really trying to go against that grain.
As you can see, Emma dressed up massively for our podcast today.
Keep it casual, people. Keep it casual.
But yeah, I think that's the main thing. Is like, you know, it's like with us and our approach is just be friendly, be approachable. You know, most of my clients, especially in the same with you, you know, we go out for dinner with them and you know, actually end up being friends with them. A lot of them, and we end up speaking a lot. A lot of them have our personal Instagram accounts.
Oh yeah, they all follow us. Give a little like.
Give a little like.
A little share.
But yeah, I think that's the main thing, really.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our first podcast.
Yeah, just a little debrief. On what we're about. And if you do want to give us a follow, give us a like. It'll come up at the end of this video. Or if you do have any questions on agency and just want to give us a call, just give us a call on the number that's at the end of this podcast. Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks so much,
guys.